What's going on, guys? This is the Red Rogue, and I thought I'd talk about a few corruptions at once in this video, since it seems kinda silly to make 12 different videos for every single one of them. I'm of course talking about the stat increase in corruptions, and all of their ranks. For those new to the corruption system, there are 4 different corruptions that increase your total amount of a secondary stat gained from all sources by a certain percent. This increases the effects of Azerite traits and essences, so this can get very strong very quickly for certain specs. The ranks give a bonus of 6, 9, and 12% respectively. Expedient increases haste gain from all sources. Masterful increases, well, mastery. Severe increases your crit, and versatile, you guessed it, is for verse gains. Nearly every spec in the game benefits from more of their best stat, hence why these 4 corruptions are highly desirable. As I'm sure you've heard from someone in your guild, or trade chat, or some guy yelling from the top of Kunlai Summit, players that use the severe corruption are pretty miffed, as this current vendor stock only holds a rank 2 variant, whereas the last 2 sets of vendor stock contained rank 3 of Expedient and Versatile, respectively. Don't get me wrong, I stack a lot of crit as an outlaw rogue, but hear me out on this one. Is rank 2 of any of them really that bad? Now, if you'll consider this, players that have been up to date on their cloak upgrades and corruption resistance bonuses will currently have a maximum of 80 resistance on their cloak, and 10 from their Heart of Azeroth if they're using one of the new essences that gives a unique bonus of 10 corruption resistance. This brings the total possible resistance of a fully caught up character to 90. The maximum amount of corrupted gear you can wear is 8 or 9, depending on if your class has a 2-handed weapon or can dual wield in some way. This is because your cloak, neck, Azerite armor, and trinkets cannot be corrupted. Now, a rank 2 version of one of these corruptions costs 15 corruption to wear, and a rank 3 costs 20 corruption to wear. Seeing as how most players are more inclined to stay under 40 corruption, so as not to get anything from beyond's kicking you in the rectum, this means at most a player would wear 129 corruption, which means you can wear 8 rank 2s with 9 corruption to spare, as that leaves you at 120. Unless of course your unique corrupted weapon from the raid is really strong, then you have even less wiggle room. If you don't know if there is one you should be looking for, by the way, I have a video on that topic too, so I'll leave a link somewhere on the screen for you guys. Anyways, my point being, even players that haven't missed any corruption resistance upgrades can barely stay under that 40 mark if they were to wear that many rank 2s, meaning people that are just getting their alts to 120 or who have missed any cloak upgrades at all definitely can't wear that much, let alone wear that many rank 3s. Also, DPS to corruption wise, all 3 ranks are equal, so yeah, that's another bonus. So now, I'll give you the opposite side of that coin. If you are caught up, and play at a competitive level, you'll often run over 40 corruption. Most high-level raiders and Mythic Plus players run a lot of corruption. Heck, I've seen people running over 60, which is just insane. Generally, players that are at that high of a skill level are skilled enough to avoid or mitigate damage or downtime loss due to bad procs or overlaps of your corruption, so the extra corruption becomes just a risk-reward scenario that they can usually manage. The second problem to buying any rank other than rank 3 is the price differences between them. And by that I mean the very minimal difference between them. A rank 3 stat corruption costs 5,000 Echoes of Nyalotha, in comparison to a rank 2 which costs 4,125. If you're looking at this from a cost-saving standpoint, then it is hard to justify buying the lesser versions, especially since you can just buy them and hold on to them in your bags until you can use them later on. There is also the continuous, albeit gradual, increase of corruption resistance we earn for our cloak every week. Every month equates to another 12 total corruption if you're keeping up, but it only takes 1 point to get you below a really nasty threshold that you're trying to avoid. By the end of Battle for Azeroth, we'll probably be around 150 corruption resistance, which means our loadouts will be a lot heavier in corruption, which then means you won't want to waste a corrupted gear slot on a low corruption piece if you have the resistance to spare. There's also the ever-annoying fact that since we don't know the rotation of the corruption vendor yet, you might end up spending echoes on a rank 2, and then the vendor will restock, and oh wow, what do you know, now you have rank 3. Thanks. Sigh. People probably wouldn't have been nearly as pissed off if they hadn't have put 2 rank 3s back to back and then a rank 2, and now people are probably just expecting the troll move of next week rank 3 is going to show up, so yeah. So the decision on what you do with your echoes really depends on the current progression of your character, at least that's how I see it. If you've already gotten a couple best-in-slot corruptions, and your raid weapon if you needed it, some high-level gear to put the corruption on, then you might not want to just throw around echoes for tiny gains, and instead stock up until your rank 3 does come around, and just hoard them in your bags until you can wear more of them. Though I honestly don't think that was Blizzard's intention with this system. A lot of the folks I know have had difficulty keeping up on ults in terms of throughput and performance, and I feel like the intention of this vendor really was a heavier focus on ults, especially as it was insinuated from this blue post. Although they do mention endgame players, it just feels bad to sit on tens of thousands of echoes, waiting for that one corruption to come up from the vendor that you want. On an ult with lower gear though, I personally don't feel as compelled to only put on rank 3s, especially since the cloaks are all a bit behind my mains. Anyways, I guess we'll have to wait and see how this vendor's really gonna work out. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch these videos. I hope they're helpful to you. If you have any questions or suggestions, feel free to write them down below. This is the Red Rogue, and I'll see you guys around.